I think the most important message I wanted to convey in Winner's Dream is you have to start with the dream. And you have to so vividly imagine it and believe in it that it actually becomes the guiding principle of your life. So your working life actually transforms into your life's work. And it gets you through all the tough times. That's the number one thing. The second is probably empathy. Empathy for the people that you're blessed to work with, empathy for the customer, and making sure you intimately understand what they want and what they're trying to accomplish. And you're always putting things in the context that matters to them, whether you're, working in a supermarket or running a delicatessen. In fact, I remember the delicatessen. I had two big competitors on either side of me. And I'm a young guy running my own business for the first time. And how do you make it? Well, I don't make it unless the customer comes in that door and comes back again. Mm-hmm. So you have to focus on the things that your competition either can't do or doesn't choose to do. So for example, a block and a half away from the store, we had a senior citizen condominium complex. What did I learn? They would actually prefer to have things delivered versus leave their home. Mm-hmm. We deliver. Back in that day, my store was supported more by blue-collar workers, like my dad, with jeans and a t-shirt on, not guys in ties. What did I learn about them? On Friday night, they were flush rich with cash. By Sunday morning, they were broke. I gave them credit all week long.
That's right.
And then finally, there was the high school, a block and a half kind of away from my store, so they have to walk past 7-Eleven. So one day, I go over there, I'm like, what is going on? How do I get these kids down in my store? What honey will get the bees to come? And I see the kids lined up 40 at a time, and only 4 inside this very large store. And I asked the kid, why are you all lined up out here? He said, well, I think we're going to take things. So they only let us in 4 at a time. So at that time, we built a video game room attached to the deli because the kids love to pluck those quarters and asteroids and Pac-Man. And that kind of drew them. But we let them in 40 at a time and let them have, whatever they wanted. And one kid, to underscore this strategy, said to me one day, Bill, when we want good food, get treated with respect, and play video games, we come here. And when we want to steal stuff, we go to 7-Eleven. So, it's all about that empathy and treating that customer right.
Yeah, I enjoyed reading The Dream. Well, I have to say, I didn't read The Dream. I listened to The Dream.
Right.
Audiobooks when I'm working out.
Thanks, and Pat.
The juggling act, the idea behind it and sort of the thesis of the book, Bill, was I was working full-time at Intel.
Yeah.
I was going to school full-time at Santa Clara.
Wow.
I ended up getting married earlier. My wife, she had endometriosis, and the doctor said, kids now or never.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting married 10 years earlier than I would have ever dreamed of, and starting a family right away. So work, family, school, just this intense period. And out of that came what I call the juggling skills.
Yes.
How do you make it all fit? And, maybe the biggest thesis in that is, that you can get so focused on your work, your career, and all of those things, but you can lose entire track of your family.
Absolutely.
And if you succeed where you want to get to in your career, and after 20 years, but you've lost the most important thing.
That's right.
Right? You have lost the most important thing at that point. We work to live, not live to work. And, talk about in the book of different pieces like, having a clear mission statement. What are your priorities and getting there? And maybe the most important to me in my life has been mentors.
Right.
People who are there to help you on the way.
Sure.
And Andy Grove, I had given this presentation to the executive staff of Intel, right? And it was in 386, and I'm way down here, and they're all way up there. I was speaking to the gods of the industry. And I get a phone call a couple of days after this. The phone rings, didn't want to be interrupted. I pick it up. Who is it? Voice comes back, Andy. Andy who? Right? I didn't want to be interrupted. I was working on getting the 386 out the door. And Andy starts shelling me with questions.
Yeah.
What do you read? What are you studying? What's your career? And he says, lousy answers. Be in my office in a week with better ones. The president, and this is like Kearns in your life, he says, show up.
Yeah.
And I go and I meet with him, and that began a mentoring relationship that literally I still go meet with Andy now and then.
Fantastic.
And just his pouring into my life to make me better. And, every one of our, business partners and friends, I always challenge them. Who are those people that are pouring into your life, challenging you, and just encouraging you and helping you be better along the way?
Well, what's fascinating in that regard in your story, Pat, is because you got started so early on having the kids, you're such a young grandfather today. Look how that decision changed the course of a man's life and many other lives. And then the idea with Andy that strikes me is being able to take constructive criticism. Executives like Andy Grove always wanted to make their people better.
Absolutely.
And you saw that. Instead of getting demoralized by the criticism, you got better. Yeah. And I encourage a lot of young people to do that. No one's out to hurt you here. Just keep getting better.
Yeah, and getting mentored by Andy Grove, I always quip that it was like going to the dentist without Novocaine.
Yeah. Right.
He was tough, baby.
Oh, yeah.
But he was making me better.
I'll tell you this story about David Kearns. One day I'm canvassing in New York. That means knocking on cold doors for a living. That's what I did to start it all out. I go into this office.
So it's a little bit higher end than shoveling manure, but anyway.
But it's still tough. And, I go into this office, beautiful Manhattan office. And the key was, how do you get past the screen to get to the boss, right? Walk into the office after I get past the screen, and I'm looking at the boss right in the eye. And he says, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Don't you know we're already a Xerox customer? How dare you walk into my office?" And he berates me, and then follows me out to the lobby and continues this beratement. And I had to make a decision at that point. At what point is enough enough? And I said, "Sir, I appreciate what you said, but it's really important that I let you know I've been thrown out of 4 offices today that are twice as nice as yours. Have a nice day." And I figured that would have been it. I'm going. And he's like, "I'm going to call David Kearns. He's my neighbor. I'm going to get you fired." I said, "You're free to call Mr. Kearns." Meanwhile, my heart's pumping. I get down to the street. I call up David Kearns. He picks up. "Hey, Mr. Kearns, Bill McDermott, I'm out here working.
Just want you to know.
This is what happened. He is your neighbor. It could be an issue. And, if I blew it, I take full responsibility." And he said to me, "Bill, I know that jackass very well. And if he calls me, I'll tell him you're my best guy out there. Keep doing what you're doing." So those moments really matter.